All right, so you've learned all about the factors that affect photosynthesis, but how do you investigate it? Now, this is one of your required practicals, which means you need to know how to carry out this method. And when we think about the method for a practical, there are three variables to think about: the independent variable, the dependent variable, and the control variable. Let's break them down. So the independent variable, well, in this setup, we might choose to investigate something like light intensity. Let me know in the comments the other three factors that affect the rate of photosynthesis. So to investigate light intensity, we're going to change the distance between our piece of plant material. We're going to use an aquatic plant, and I'll explain why in a minute. And we're going to change the distance between our piece of plant and the distance from the lamp. And the further we get away from the lamp, the lower the light intensity will be. So as distance increases, light intensity decreases. And that kind of relation, that's proportional to the inverse square law as well. Check out my other video relating to that. Now, as we move that plant, we're going to change the light intensity. And then how do we measure the rate of photosynthesis? Well, photosynthesis produces oxygen as well as glucose. But measuring the glucose is going to be quite difficult because that's going to be inside the plant. The good thing about aquatic plants is they're in water, and as they produce that oxygen, they're going to produce bubbles. Now, those bubbles will come out of the plant and rise to the surface. So as the plant produces those bubbles, well, I can just count the bubbles, and that is a measure of the rate of photosynthesis. The more bubbles per minute, the faster the rate of photosynthesis. So that would be my dependent variable. What about my control variable? Well, the control variables are the things that I need to keep the same. And really, I want to talk about the things that will affect the rate of photosynthesis. So something like the brightness of the lamp, maybe the color of the light, but also something like the temperature. So I've got my piece of pondweed submerged into a water bath here, so I can keep the temperature the same throughout. Also, what about the size of the piece of pondweed? If we've got more pondweed, if we've got a bigger piece, it's going to have more chloroplasts and therefore more chlorophyll, which means that it can be carrying out photosynthesis faster. So we want to keep the size, the mass, the volume, however you want to phrase it, we want to keep the same piece of pondweed throughout our investigation. Now, when we're thinking about our investigation, we want to think about how to make our measurement of the rate of photosynthesis more reliable, how to improve our results. Well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take repeat measurements. I'm not just going to do it once at 50, once at 40, 30, 20, 10, etc. I'm going to repeat it at each one and then calculate a mean. It's really important in your exams you say repeat and calculate a mean. And it also allows us to identify